Series set tubes, or valves if you prefer, something that's very commonly overlooked. I'm seeing this all the time. Could they be money in the bank? Let's take a closer look. Welcome to another Tech Tip series here at Mr. Carlson's Lab. If you'd like to stay current in this series, definitely subscribe and hang around. I've got many more tech tips coming after this. Let's get started. I often hear people say, if you're buying up a bunch of tubes and you come across any series set vacuum tubes, that they can be left behind. They're not really worth anything, why buy those? And I also see this mentioned in forums. Oh, you've bought a whole bunch of series set tubes. They're really not worth anything. Well, as the vacuum tube supply starts to dry up, as it already is, tubes that are used in series set applications are going to become very desirable. What is the difference? Just the filament voltage. That's it. So if you have a 6JS6, what's the difference? Well, a 6JS6, which would be the desirable version, takes 6 volts to light the filament. This one takes 21 volts. So whenever you're looking at a tube number with letters behind the first numbers, so if you see 21, that means that the filament voltage is 21 volts or around 21 volts. So you look in the manual, this just gives you an idea of what it's going to be close to. You can see it says 23JS6 at the top and 21 down here. For example, a very common audio tube is a 12AX7. All right, that's used in many guitar amplifiers and just all sorts of different, instrument amplifiers and, home listening audio amplifiers, things like that. 12AX7 means that the filament voltage is 12.6 volts. All right, so it gives you an idea of where you're around. JS is just a factory identification number. 6 means it has 6 useful elements inside. And when I say elements, I don't mean like a glowing element. I mean like screen grid, suppressor grid, plate, deflection electrodes, cathode, things like that. That's what that means. So 6 useful elements inside the tube. Now here's where this really gets kind of interesting. So everybody is searching for the 6-volt version of vacuum tubes. You can see again this is 21, so everybody would be looking for the 6JS6. Now many amplifiers that run this particular type of tube, the 6JS6 version, would say have 6 of them in the amplifier, but all the filaments are hooked in parallel to a 6-volt transformer. Well, just say you needed to replace the tubes in that amplifier. Well, if you've looked at the prices of 6JS6 tubes, you'd go, wow, they're really crazy. But the 21JS6 is actually really quite reasonable still because of this mindset. Well, in order to convert, say, an RF amplifier that uses 6 of the 6JS6 tubes to 21JS6 is very simple. And you'd make the load on the actual transformer in the unit much, much easier for the transformer because you'd be eliminating the entire filament string. All you would do is rewire the sockets in series and all 6 tubes could run right off the line voltage. They could run right off the line in that amplifier and they'd all glow just the same. So now you've taken 6 tubes which may have caused you to discard the amplifier because it's too expensive to replace them, and put it back into service with 21-volt tubes and it'll run just fine. And there's even a bonus. If one of the tubes burns out, all of them will shut off. So that way you don't harm the amplifier. Isn't that neat? So there are even bonuses of changing this over to, say, a 21-volt system. You just have to be a little bit creative. 6LF6 is another very sought after tube for RF service, and of course if you wanted to make a very stout RF amplifier or audio amplifier, that would be fine. The only difference is this has 20 volts to light the tube up instead of 6. It's very easy to come up with filament voltage. It's very easy to modify things to come up with the voltages to light these things up. So why are these not more sought after? Well, people just aren't becoming creative. And as the tube supply starts to dry up, people are going to start to turn to these and realize that, hey, it's the same tube with just a different filament voltage. That's all it is. 12AU7, look familiar? right? 6LW6, which is another really, really, well, look at this tube here, right? Look at the size of this thing. Can you imagine putting an audio amplifier together with a bunch of these in it? Right? Would create lots of power, right? Again, the most common version is the 6LW6. This just happens to be the 36LW6. So just get creative in lighting the filaments up inside the tube, and it's absolutely usable. And they're extremely cheap right now. All of these tubes are really, really fairly priced still. But coming in the very near future, as the vacuum tube supply starts to dry up, people are going to start designing with these and building with these, and you know what's going to happen with the prices. Any vacuum tube that gets any type of a mention, of course the prices go up. Here are some vacuum tube facts and myths going around out there, and I'll try and clear some of this stuff up for all of you. The green band inside the vacuum tube means nothing more than a high quality, long life tube. There's all sorts of interesting theories going around out there about this green band. That's all it means. So that means that this tube is a very high quality, long life vacuum tube. This particular tube, it has a 12-pin base on it. So most 12-pin vacuum tubes, the first two pins with the gap are the filament pins. All right, so in order to light this tube up, both of these pins here would need to receive voltage and of course current, and it would light the vacuum tube up. Say with this one would be 21 volts would have to be applied there, and the tube would light up. Touching the glass, here's a myth. Touching the glass of a vacuum tube is harmful to the glass. No, it's not. That is just the silliest thing out there. And people keep, repeating this. They say, oh, you get your fingerprints on the glass and it's going to harm the glass. This all started with the headlights with, vehicles where they started to read the warnings on those little bulbs. You can't touch the glass, the quartz glass and things like that. Vacuum tubes are just soft glass. These are just soft glass vacuum tubes. Of course, you wouldn't want to be touching the glass if the vacuum tube is on because it's hot, but when the tube is cold and of course the circuit is safely discharged and whatever, handling the glass of a vacuum tube is absolutely fine. You're just going to put your fingerprints on it, but you can wipe that off if you like. A lot of the writing like this here, you can see this is actually in the glass itself. There's almost like an etch inside the glass, but this 23 that you see up here and the 21 JS6 that you see here and the Westinghouse and all that with the Japan and all that, this yellow writing, that can wipe off very easy. So you want to be careful with that. So whenever you see this kind of a grayish number, that's pretty much in the glass itself, but everything else, you could wipe that off with your finger. So Windex and all that, if you want to clean the dirt off of vacuum tubes, you got to be very careful around that. This will not come off. And of course, the green is inside the vacuum tube, so that wouldn't come off. So don't fall for that. And for any of you that are out there repeating that if you touch the glass of a vacuum tube, when somebody that actually comes along and knows what they're talking about and understands vacuum tubes hears you say that, that's, people will just look at you and just, well, of course, you know what they'll think. So you definitely don't want to be repeating any of those myths. That's myths. So this is just a soft glass tube. Some of the larger power tubes have Nonex. The glass is called Nonex, and some of them are even Pyrex, depending on those particular, different types of borosilicate type glass tubes, and that's for very, very high power RF application is usually what those tubes are. So there's a couple of myths. What else can I tell you about this? Larger power tubes, the anode is on the top. And for receiving tubes, the grid cap is on the top. So this is technically the anode or where the positive supply goes for this tube. And if this tube was ever in service inside of a television, you would never want to measure this point if the TV is on because it'll destroy the meter. So this has, very, very high voltage pulses on this particular area of the tube when it's in service. So something to keep in mind, never ever, if you're playing with a television or whatever, and you're working around in there, never try to measure the voltage on the actual plate cap where your meter will say, see you later. For vacuum tubes where the grid, that's the signal into the tube, all right? That's of course a very low voltage on the grid cap, but you need to know the difference between the actual vacuum tubes. So transmitting tubes, anode on the top, receiving tubes, grid on the top, normally. So again, always check to be safe. And what else can I tell you? I think that's just about it. So the bottom line is, as these particular tubes and any series set type of tube, I have many. I buy them up by massive lots. As the tube supply in the world starts to dwindle, people are going to start looking at these particular tubes to start building. And of course, again, people are already doing this. If you have an RF amplifier that needs 6 tubes, it's a very, very easy modification to make series set tubes work. So over time, I can't see the prices of these tubes really dwindling. Now, of course, anything can happen, right? And of course, if you're going to be purchasing any tubes, you're doing so at your own risk. But I can tell you this, I've been buying tubes like this up by the lots, 10,000, 20,000 of them at a time. So what does that tell you? I hope this gives you some insight to what's going on in the vacuum tube world and what's actually going to be happening with series set tubes in the very near future. If you're enjoying these videos and you'd like to increase your knowledge, definitely subscribe and hang around. I've got many more videos to share. If you'd like to take your electronics knowledge to a much higher level and gain access to many of my personal electronic inventions, creations, and designs, you'll definitely want to check out my electronics course on Patreon. There's something there for just about everyone. It's a zero pressure place to be. You can take part or just learn quietly in the background. There's many projects for you to build, both solid state and vacuum tube projects, both surface mount and through hole and point to point if you're into vacuum tube stuff. I even have some dead bug style stuff there too if you're interested in that. Lots and lots of projects for you to build and hundreds of videos for you to learn from. Definitely check it out. It's a great place to be. All right, until next time, take care. Bye for now.